Hello everyone. For these first three problems, I want you to solve them completely, show your work. Do not look anything up. Do not use any kind of app or program to look these up. You can use your notes, but nothing else. Show your work completely and then submit. I'll have a separate post in Classroom for you guys to turn these problems in. So they may be worth just out of maybe 6 points, or they may be worth some extra credit points. I haven't decided yet, but please make sure you complete these. So pause the video now to copy these down. And then resume playing. I'm going to go over problems 1 through 8 from yesterday's worksheet. Okay, so if you need more time with these, just pause the video again and then resume playing. All right, here are the answers to 1 through 8. Go ahead and check them quickly, and then I will go over each one individually. All right, so let's start to go over these. All right, for number 1, we have a squared minus 1 over a minus 1. We're going to factor that numerator. That's a difference of squares, so this factors into an a minus 1 times an a plus 1, or vice versa, over a minus 1. If we look at this denominator, now we want to state our restriction. So this a in the denominator can't equal 1. And then we're going to cross out the a minus 1s. They match perfectly. And we're just left with a plus 1. For number 2, we have x squared minus 9 over x squared plus x minus 6. Again, in the numerator, we have a difference of squares. That's going to factor into an x minus 3 times an x plus 3. Now, we should always still be looking for a GCF. There just hasn't been a GCF yet. There's still no GCF in our denominator. We make 2 sets of parentheses. First, we'll have x times x. Factors of 6, that'll help us get to a positive 1. Here are going to be a 2 and a 3. Signs need to be different, so to get a positive 1, my 3 needs to be positive, my 2 needs to be negative. So on the outside, we'll get a 3x minus 2x. There's our positive 1x. Again, let's state restrictions. This first x here cannot equal a 2. The second x here cannot equal a negative 3. Then our x plus 3's cross out, and we are left with x minus 3 over x minus 2. Let's take a look at number 3. We have negative 3x plus 6 divided by 18 minus 9x. There is a GCF in the numerator. I'm actually going to factor out a negative 3. What do we have left? We have an x, but then we're going to have a minus 2. That way we need to get that positive 6 when we distribute that back in. In my denominator, I can factor out a 9. What am I left with here? A 2 minus x. Again, state our restrictions. This x here cannot equal a positive 2. Now, they're not perfect. In fact, they're opposites. 2 minus x and x minus 2 are opposites. So when I factor that out, I'm going to get, or divide that out, I'm going to get a negative 1. Now, before we try to do too much here, now I have a negative 3 times a negative 1. So I have a positive 3 over 9. And then that simplifies further into 1/3. All right, for 4, we have c cubed minus 5c squared over c cubed minus 25c. Again, we need to factor before we can cross out. So there's a GCF in our numerator of c squared. Then we have a c minus 5 left. And then there's only a GCF of c in our denominator. This leaves us with a c squared minus 25. I can't factor anything else from the numerator, but in my denominator, still leave the c. And then c squared minus 25 is another difference of squares. So we have a c minus 5 times a c plus 5. Again, let's state our restrictions. So this c cannot equal a 0. It's a monomial. This c here cannot equal a 5. And then this c here cannot equal a negative 5. So what's going to cross out? Well, the c minus 5s. And then where do we have more c's of the monomials? Up top. So I'm going to just cross these out. We're just going to be left with 1 c up top. So our final answer is going to be c over c plus 5. Okay, so for the rest of these, we don't have to worry about stating restrictions. Let's take a look at number 5. We have 4x squared over 3 times 27 over x cubed. All right, so there's nothing to really factor. These are all monomials. So what I could do is just start to cross out. 3 goes into 27 9 times. A 3 becomes a 1. And then where do we have more x's? on the bottom. So in other words, I can cross these out and I have an extra x down here. So what do I have left in the top? 4 times 9 is 36. What do I have left in my denominator? Just x. All right, for number 6, we have 3x minus 6 all over x times x squared plus 3x over x squared minus 4. All right, so again, let's take a look at our first numerator. There is a GCF of 3. What's left? X minus 2 all over x. I don't have to flip anything. I'm multiplying. So x squared plus 3x, there's a GCF of x. What's left? X plus 3. And then this denominator is a difference of squares, so I factor that into x minus 2, x plus 2. Again, I don't have to state restrictions, so we just go to crossing out. So I know I can cross out this x with this x minus 2 with this x minus 2. So we are left up top with 3 times the quantity x plus 3 over x plus 2. All right, looking at number 7. We have a squared plus 4a over a squared plus 3a minus 4. Now we are dividing, so our very first step is to turn this back into a multiplication problem. And we have divided by a cubed over 2a minus 2. So our very first step is to keep the first fraction the same and multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. Now we factor. So again, in our numerator, there's a GCF of a. What's left? A plus 4. There's no GCF in our denominator, but I will try 2 sets of parentheses here. We're going to get an a and an a. Let's try a 4 and a 1 because I need to get a 3 in the middle. My signs are different, but I want a positive 3, so I want a plus 4 and a minus 1. The 2a minus 2 has a GCF of 2. We have a minus 1. And that should be an a cubed. And what helps is if we could write that out as a times a times a. So let's see what crosses out. We have a plus 4's cross out, a minus 1's cross out. This 1a can cross out with 1a from there, so now we're left with 2 over a squared. And then finally number 8. This one was a little bit more of a challenge. We have 4a squared b squared minus 25 over the quantity 2ab plus 5. Now this is divided by, so our first step is to multiply by the reciprocal. 4ab minus 10 over 2ab plus 5. So again, I'm going to rewrite this, keep the first fraction the same, multiply by the reciprocal of the second. That should have been a square over there. So then times 2ab plus 5, I'm just going to keep that in parentheses, over 4ab minus 10. All right, so this first numerator, there's a lot going on here. This is actually a difference of squares. We just have an extra variable here, so I'm going to make 2 sets of parentheses. The square root of 4a squared b, if you kind of look elsewhere, we have a 2ab, and that's what the square root is. So we're going to have a 2ab first in each one. Square root of 25 is just 5. 1 plus, 1 minus. In my denominator, I just don't want to leave it like this. I'm going to write it out as 2ab plus 5 times 2ab plus 5. Over here, I have the 2ab plus 5. There's nothing, no common factor here, but the 4ab minus 10 does have a GCF of what? 2. What's left over? 2ab minus 5. So even though there's a lot there, there's also a lot that's going to cross out. So I've got this 2ab minus 5 here, can cross out with the 2ab minus 5 there. This 2ab plus 5 can cross out with this one. This 2ab plus 5 can cross out with this one. Now look very carefully. What do we have left in the numerator? If everything crosses out, we're still left with a 1. What do we have left in our denominator? This 2. So the answer is not 2, it's 1 over 2. All right, so continue working on problems 9 through 15. So finish the worksheet from yesterday. Tomorrow you guys will have a team assignment. There's 9 problems over simplifying rational expressions, including multiplying and dividing. So please let me know if you guys have any questions.